Yo, what is cracking, my people? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to yet another episode of ADQ's Renaissance. I'm your host with the most, keeping it 100 from coast to coast. Through God, our boast. ADQ. It is Sunday, November the 21st, 2021. Y'all come on in, join me because we got a dope episode for you this evening. Yo. Last night, I watched Tick Tick Boom, right? You know, pretty much the autobiography of Jonathan Larson. Friday night, I watched King Richard, autobiography of Richard Williams. Of course, I had to talk about it. I'm not going to talk about it tonight, but I am going to talk about it. Y'all look out for that. Also, I'm stepping my foot back in the game. I just got cast in a new play. Tell you what it is soon. December 3rd, look out for Black Tony. I'm in that. Look out for Street Logic. Let's see. Other things on the horizon. Y'all just stay tuned. One thing that keeps me going, boom, alkaline water. Greatest water ever. I call it my Jesus water because I feel so safe when I do it. Now, I'm not wasting no time. I do not believe in gratuitously wasted time. Let's get into our guest. I met this gentleman back in 2012. We were in a play together called The Devil Thought He Had Me, written by a very, very talented young playwright by the name of Pashana DuBose. Our characters had a very interesting exchange. And then I will go on to know this brother over the course of the next 9 years. We've actually known each other for 9 years now. I've talked to him about theater, but I've talked to him about life. He's become a very, very, very entrusted voice in my crazy life. He was definitely there for me during very hard times, like when I moved to Greensboro and was struggling and whatnot. And I've seen him, ease out of the arts field and into the political spectrum that saw him serve as a member of the school board. And there have been times when he was on the school board during meetings where he had my fellow educators going right on, heck yeah, and all that good stuff. So I wanted to learn, what is it that led him to make that transition? I want to know what got him into stand-up comedy, because he has a whole character by the name of Bishop Dean. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to ADQ's Renaissance, the Honorable Byron Gladden. Byron, where you at, brother?
Hey, thank you. Yes. Cannons to the left of them. Cannons to the right of them.
You better tell him Rafael De La Ghetto.
No, not Rafael De La Ghetto.
That was a character on the episode.
Right.
That
was Rafael De La Ghetto. Right. I do remember that now. I couldn't think of the name. What's going on? I'm so excited. I cannot believe you have a channel on Spotify. Wow, this is huge. This is a huge platform. I mean, I'm really excited. I knew you love to talk. Now people are actually subscribed. People are now choosing to listen to you. I think we've come a mighty long way.
Well, it ain't nothing. I mean, I only have 2,156 plays so far, 101 subscribers on YouTube. But ain't nothing.
It's on the way. It's coming. This is your season.
It is my season. Yes, I receive that.
Season.
I receive that, man. Byron, it is great to see you, brother. How have you been doing?
Black, and you?
Likewise.
Doesn't that encompass everything? Doesn't that say it all? People are, how you been doing, Black, and you?
Yeah, that does encompass everything. Hey, how you doing? I'm Bliss Black and Alley Faithful. I'm black, and you? Great answer.
Sums it up. It's so simple. A simple word that just means hundreds of sentences. It just really encompasses. Of course, politically, if people are talking about the the Rittenhouse verdict.
Wow. You just decided to go into the deep pool. You
Well,
don't want
I
to
didn't jump. I didn't jump in. I let you know where the pool was, but I didn't get in the pool.
Yeah,
Let you know that the pool has water. Michael.
Yes, and at this particular moment in time, that is a pool that a lot of people are around the whole Rittenhouse verdict. Personally, if you want my personal opinion about it, I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised at all. That's just the way that. Correct me if I'm wrong, because you're closer to the judicial system than I am, but that is the way that things work.
How am I closer to the judicial system? Let's be very clear. I'm not close to the judicial system.
If the judicial system looked at, if members of the judicial system looked at who has or who had a hand in their child's education, they're going to see your name before they see mine.
So this is what I call reaching.
Right?
That's a reach. That's a reach. But I'll let it ride today. That was a reach though. Okay. Continue.
Anywho, you and I both know that the judicial system here in America never has and probably never will. Okay, never will is reaching also, but never has worked in our favor, right? Let me or you strap up, go to another state, I don't know, go to Virginia, go to Tennessee, wherever, and start popping caps in people. Man, you better believe they would have us dead after the first shot. They basically looked at him and said, "Okay, Mr. Rittenhouse, do your thing. Okay, 1 down, 2 down, 1 down, 2 down, 3 down. Now we're going to arrest you." Right?
Well, I think we have to. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay. I think we have to provide context as to the significance of the case. The significance of this case is I'm at home. There's a riot going on. Mm-hmm. I arm myself and go to the fight and get aggressive with other people who are rioting. And then when they get aggressive with me, I shoot and kill 3 of them. And then I'm claiming self-defense.
Right. Absolutely.
Like
crying on the stand.
But when has that worked for us? They're just like, you get a phone call from one of your homeboys who's at the club that's getting jumped on. Mm-hmm. So you pull up to fight and you about to get whooped. So then you escalate it to another level and you're like, I'm innocent. They were trying to kill me. Then you want to play the self-defense card.
Which is what
he did. Make sense. Make it make sense.
But does white privilege and white supremacy, does it make sense? You and I both know, and anybody with a cognitive state of mind knows that at its core, no, it does not. But seeing as how it's the way that this country has operated on since its very founding, it does make sense to those who operate it. Am I right?
Well, the system is working for those who designed it. I think that sums it up.
Basically, pretty much, yes. And Mr. Rittenhouse is a free man and not getting the justice that he very much deserves, because he is a descendant of those who designed it.
I mean, the system was designed to work for those type of cases. I mean, it's an example of, this case was significant, I feel, for non-POCs who have that very extreme mentality of, self-defense, stand your ground, that type of mentality. So the judge clearly wasn't trying to set a new precedent with what he did and how he did it. And so I think that it comes out in a different way. And I feel like people don't want to people don't want to address that.
It does, because one example that comes to my mind is the Botham John case. So if the tables were turned, if a black police officer would have came into, she got 10 years in jail, but personally I think she got a slap in the hand compared to what would have happened to a black person. If a black person would busted into the wrong apartment and opened fire and said, "Oh, I thought it was my place," either they would have threw the book at the person, or they would have, or it would have been a death sentence. So the way that the system operates, I don't mean to sound pessimistic, but the way that the system operates is not particularly in our favor.
Oh, you meant to sound pessimistic. I mean, you walked into that apartment, you saw the picture of the Last Supper up on the wall. You knew it wasn't your apartment.
Right.
You saw the Michael Jordan slides by the door. You knew it wasn't your apartment. You saw the L-shaped couch, the PlayStation. You knew it wasn't your apartment. I mean, who's that? I think she claimed she was so tired or so exhausted that she just thought. I mean, so who does that? Who? Oh, my key doesn't work. And I'm exhausted and not thinking clearly. Let me just break in. I mean, who breaks into their own apartment?
Not me.
Like, for me, if it's that serious and my key doesn't work and I know it's my apartment, I'm either going to come sleep at my office or go get a room and try to figure out tomorrow, because I'm not in the right state of mind before this ends. I'm not going to just kick and break it, because then how are you going to secure your door if you break in? How you feel comfortable going to sleep after you done broke in your front? Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense.
So you want to know something I respect about you, Byron?
You respect me. Oh, thank you.
Yes, I respect you, man.
Oh, stop.
See, me and you in comparison, by comparison, there's a comparison and a contrast. Me, I'm one of the people who's like, yo, the system does not work for us and stuff. But you're one of those. But you're out there trying to make things work, trying to make a change. And me, I believe that is a very admirable quality.
Make change.
I mean, yeah, you're there to make change. Nothing about you says to me, "Hey, I'm here trying to collect a check."
You know, back when I was on the school board. You know, about that period, or just in general? Okay, so
that is just in general.
One thing that I've learned with the political scene is those who don't have a political background or don't come from a political family that want to be involved and do something, they don't really understand what change looks like. And they're not necessarily ready to pay the cost for change. You really have to understand how power moves through your position and what you can and cannot do yet. Because as long as you can write a policy or procedure, you can pretty much do a lot of it is within in the perspective of your role. But what are you willing to sacrifice to do that? What I learned is I wasn't willing to sacrifice who I was because of who I was for the edification of certain people in the community over children, having equity, and staff and staff having the resources and the help that they needed. I wasn't willing to compromise that. I wasn't going to be one of those elected officials that just entitled only. And even though people have various opinions about my time on the board, I haven't had anyone say that Byron got elected to just be on the board, to say that he was on the board. I wasn't entitled only. I worked. I worked that role like it was a full-time job, because it was to me. And that was nights, that was weekends. I'm about to write a book about it. I mean, because people really wouldn't believe what I saw and what I witnessed in the past 4 years, and the level of drama that can happen on a school board. But it's really interesting.
When you write that book, please bring it here, and I would love to talk about it. Oh, please do, because while I am a TA, that's my day job position. I do recognize that while that the way that things operate, let's be honest here, it can be a lot better, right? And that's
Always.
why the school board is even a thing, because it's a group of people, most of them a group of parents trying to figure out, okay, how can we make the educational process for a child better? I was trying to pull up your video that you did in July, and I loved what you said in that. I felt challenged by that. You said, yes, I'm going to give you your flowers, Byron. I'm going to give you your flowers. I felt challenged by that. I said to myself, how much as a TA and as an after-school teacher, how much am I looking to punish kids for acting up in class when they're really just bored? You were talking about how bored you were. You were talking about how you felt unchallenged. A lot of these kids perform academically above the level where they're currently at. They're performing on a third grade level when they're in kindergarten.
And they lose it. If they're not engaged, they regress. But everyone's focused on discipline. Teachers can't teach because there's so many unruly kids in class. Show me an unruly child, and I will show you a child that is not being challenged. Either they are advanced on what you're teaching, or they are so far behind, they don't care what you're saying. They want to play, and they want to act up because they don't understand what you're saying, because they've been passed through, or because of their home life. And sometimes it's not and or, it's a both and. They're not being supported. So I've been told this by a lot of different teachers, and I think feel pretty confident saying this, is that the hardest thing to teach a child is how to read. Yes. So if you're trying to teach a child how to read from 7:30 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, and they go home and they're latchkey kids, or they're at home, but no one is taking out their books, looking at their reading list, sitting down and going through reading every night, they're losing what they learned that morning. So they come back to school the next day and they're further unprepared. And now that teacher has to reteach what he or she, or they, them, there, just taught them the day before. It becomes a cycle to where the support isn't home. But if you look into the family and look into the parents' education background, their parents hit an achievement gap as well. Mm-hmm. And so the parents, we're not checking to see if the parents are empowered to help their child with schoolwork. We're just sending schoolwork home with the child. So, and I'll say this, I have a second grader that's going on 30. My niece, and she's doing addition and subtraction. Okay. Right. Very intelligent. Of course she is. She's my niece, of course. But she was struggling, and so she asked me, could I help her? I was like, sure, let's go. The way they're doing math now with the takeaway numbers, where you're drawing blocks and you're grouping in blocks of 10. So let me tell you something. We got like 4.5 degrees in one household, and like in one immediate family. I went to YouTube. I said, what are they talking about? So the way they want you to show her work, my niece can do it in her head, but showing the work is like, I said, you would have to do this on a test. I said, but she knew the answer. She knew, 35 minus, 15 was 20. But she had to break down 35 into 3 columns of 10 and 5 single cubes minus 1 column of 10 and 5 cubes, and then see where you can group on either side.
So Byron,
I was like, what parent do you think is going to be able to help their child with that? What average parent do you think is going to be able to help their child with that? But we are educating our children to take tests, not to lead, not to lead and not to learn. We're educating children to test because we think the test is such a great outcome. And I'll pause after this.
You good?
Several education, leaders and superintendents and school officials, we need children back in school. The learning loss that they're experiencing, they just will not recover.
They could.
The only way to really, in their eyes, the only way to really measure learning loss is by testing.
Oh God.
So that doesn't mean they forgot what they learned pre-pandemic. You went through a whole school year in pandemic of inconsistent teaching, online learning. Most school districts struggled because they didn't have one-to-one devices. The children didn't have Wi-Fi. It was a different structure. And a lot of parents could not sit at home and police their children to make sure they were in school and doing whatever. So you had a lot of inconsistencies. I'm gonna tell you which group of children did not miss a beat. Children who were homeschooled. They were ready. Children who were homeschooled had the least amount of adjustment. And they were still able to play because they were being educated in like a herd type of, like they had groups of, like if you have groups of kids and families who are homeschooling that they get together and the parents may take turns on which subject. So they were still able to play because everybody was in communication about symptoms of COVID. So since this group always stayed together, they continued to stay together. Mostly the ones that I spoke to, they was like, yeah, our kids still play together in COVID. Our kids, because we were already set up to interact. And so we made sure that we took extra precautions when we had to go out. But for those who were at home, yeah, they sailed right through. My issue is children of color, Black and brown children, were struggling with learning before the pandemic hit.
Facts.
So you're rushing them back to school to be miseducated, because what was happening at home was the same thing that was happening in the school building. What changed? The location? The curriculum? Or was it magnified?
First of all, you just said mouthful there. I will tell you this. So, Byron, me and you, we're the same age, right?
How old are you?
I'm 36, bro.
You're 36. Oh, okay. I'm 21.
You're 36 like I am. Quit
I'm
tripping.
I'm 21.
Okay.
For the past 14 years.
It's only on for the past 14 years.
I'm 30, celebrating my 6th 30th birthday.
Okay, celebrate my 6th 30th birthday. This is what I'm getting at. We came up in the educational system at the same time. You and Ashboro, me and Shelby. At what point did you see? At what point did you see group these blocks to solve this double-digit math problem? Me, never.
No, just like I never had a Black teacher. I never saw this type of process. Well, keep in mind, well, now keep in mind, just FYI, in 2000, let's just say the early 2000s, because if I do an exact year, somebody will try to come for me, and then I will have to gather them like dust. So let's just say the early 2000s, Common Core, the General Assembly, North Carolina General Assembly, adopted Common Core.
Right.
So all the school districts had to go to a set curriculum. I mean, a set structure, learning structure. The problem was a lot of school districts did not have the curriculum to go with Common Core. So in Guilford County, didn't have a curriculum. So when everything switched over to Common Core, teachers had to figure out what and how to teach every night.
So kind of had to redo the whole thing.
Well, no. So okay. So let's. I'm trying to think of a good example to do.
Use one of the Christmas trees behind you.
Right. Yeah. See, I'm in the dungeon in my office. Let me see an example of how.
Real quick.
So let's say Big Mama been making mac and cheese the same way for 20 years.
Woo, yes. I love mac and cheese.
We know. So, Big Mama died.
Ouch!
Now you know how to make the recipe, but you got to figure out what cheese she used. You don't know. You don't remember the cheeses. So now you're testing which cheese tastes like Big Mama's.
Mm-hmm.
Since you don't know what cheese you're using, you're playing, Russian roulette. We're trying to figure out if it's the right cheese. So you're experimenting, right?
Right, Russian roulette. Yeah.
That's what happened in public education during that period. Everybody went to the same format, but not everybody had the same resources. And at that particular time in Guilford, at least in Guilford County, the school district did not prioritize to buy a curriculum, nor did they build one. So you had inconsistencies throughout the school district about how people were teaching. You had some that might have been doing the long drawn out math of Common Core, and some that were still doing it mental, but made sure you knew how to pass it on the test. So teachers weren't as empowered. The curriculum wasn't as structured until like the past 4 years. I'm hearing an echo. Why am I hearing an echo? Did you do
Maybe
something?
I
You over there pressing buttons. You over there pressing buttons.
First of all, I just want to say you are tuning into ADQ's Renaissance. This is the Honorable Byron Gladden. I want to shout out to Chris Scott, Christina Young, Alexandra LaBelle, and Mark Williams, who took good care of me when I was at Guilford College. I have no idea what you're talking about as far in regards to this button pressing, Mr. Gladden. But Byron?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey.
Hello,
I'm here.
Ever so often, my computer has a tendency to freeze. I was just afraid that you might have frozen like
oh, excuse
me. Bless you. So, shout out to Big Los. Shout out to Big Los, who recently opened up for Patty LaBelle. No, Gladys Knight. I gotta get my legends right. Gladys Knight. Shout out to Big Los.
We had a conversation about that yesterday. I got on him about that.
What you say to Big Los, man? What you say to Big Los?
Oh, so this is what I said to Big Los. I said, Big Los. Now you have a group of comedians in the Piedmont Triad area. I said we could have came together and gave you, jokes and help to build your set. Because he was like, well, I did it for all of us. I made us all look good. It was a team effort. I said, how was a team effort without a huddle? Matter of fact, I told him 3 jokes when I was on the phone with him. He said, I wish I would have spoke to you beforehand. I would have used those jokes in my set. I said, you got resources, but you're not using them. Sound familiar?
So, that tells me something about you, Byron. That tells me, you don't know what that tells me about you? That Bishop Dean is still inside of you. Even though you've been on these school board meetings raising all types of Hades, you still got Bishop Dean inside of you. Yeah, you. Would you say that Bishop Dean is still inside of you?
I didn't raise hell. I raised the standard.
Okay, my bad. Let me
Ha!
reword it.
Ho! Ha ha! Ho!
Ain't the
Okay,
first
God.
time. Ain't the
Ha!
first time you corrected me on something. Won't be
Ha!
the last time. Okay,
Ha!
let me
Hey, I
reword
felt
it.
that. Oh! Oh!
Byron did not raise hell. He raised the standard. He was
The
like,
standard. Come on here.
people pay their taxes for you to educate our children. We owe it to the teachers. We owe it to the students to provide something with better structure.
Well, wait a minute. We owe it to all of staff. What I will not do is bifurcate the roles of staff, from teachers to custodians to bus drivers to cafeteria
What word did you just say? What word did
to
you
food,
just use?
because you was like the teachers and students. You've got to be all. You can't break them up.
My bad, man.
You can't
Okay.
break them up. You've got to wrap them all together, because that system, as imperfect as it is, could not run without everyone, from maintenance to making a sandwich.
I tell my kids that
It's
all the
real.
time. I tell my kids that all the time. I think that on the totem pole, maintenance should be over teachers in terms of respect, because teachers could not do their job without maintenance. Have you ever taught in a cold classroom before? Have you ever taught in a
Well, I can't say I've never taught. I've never taught in a public school, like a government school situation. No.
Anyway, you did not. You raised the standard. You are raising the standard for it to be a better system for all of us.
And I'm glad we got TAs back, because your position was largely eliminated when the North Carolina General Assembly decided to expand pre-K without funding the pre-K mandate, expansion of pre-K without a dime given to that mandate, because we had to find over $15 million in our budget. And that included, I believe, about over 170 TAs we had to lay off. That was in my first 2 years in office.
What?
So the fact that they brought TAs back is because of the high level of attrition and competitiveness of teachers in the workforce. The TAs had to be a priority because teachers could not. I can't say teachers. I can't say teachers couldn't do it. A lot of teachers refused to just flat out load everything on their backs and do it all, and not have any support in the classroom, any relief to go use the bathroom or whatever. They needed TAs there as a supplement to educate, because if we're about closing the achievement gap, the front of the classroom is maybe getting what's going on, but the TA is able to move up and down those rows and to identify children that are not on the same page or that may have a challenge, and it's able to pull them, well, this was pre-COVID, to the good old kidney table. What you know about the kidney table? The good old kidney table, and be able to work with those students as well and be a support to the main teacher.
So I am receiving these TA benefits that just came to be within the past 2-3 years, right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
Praise God. Now you can start speaking in tongues. Daggone.
Now, when did you get hired? What year?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. I started as an ACES group leader in 2019. Then COVID hit. All ACES was shut down. Then 2020, I was hired as a TA for the EC department over at Western Guilford Middle School. EC's not my bag. Much love to everybody who works in that system. Not my bag. I got hired as a TA over at Washington Montessori School. Separated from there for reasons that I will not disclose on this particular podcast.
I can think of a few. I can think of a couple of reasons why you left. Go ahead.
All right, you're familiar. You know what goes down over at Washington Montessori?
I can think of a couple of reasons why. Here's the thing: I have been off the school board a whole year. It's been a whole year, and I still get phone calls from teachers throughout the district, and I still get anonymous letters sent to me. I still get emails to my private email. People who know me in the community, I still get phone numbers. People are still giving out my phone number for random people to call me, blocked, and this, that, and the other. So I'm still very much in the know with a lot of stuff that's happening in the school district, right and wrong. So we could talk more about it offline. But yeah, when you said Washington Montessori, go ahead.
So I'm not even gonna say where I'm at right now. I'll just say that it's over. That's near Battleground. I'll tell you offline where I'm at right now.
Okay, that's a big range. Okay.
Sunset Drive.
Okay, I'm with you. I knew where. So but okay, you do realize it's public information. But okay.
Oh, so there's public information about me and my.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Don't forget then. I'm over at Irving Park.
Okay.
That's Irving Park.
I mean, it's it's public information. I know, right? Right. Well, you know what? My office is on Yanceyville Street.
Yanceyville Street. That's close.
That's close to you.
Oh, what's up, man? Yanceyville Street. I would say that's like closer to Washington Montessori than it is to Irving Park, right?
Yanceyville.
Yanceyville. Yeah, Yanceyville.
No.
Hey, man, you know on direction. Challenge that going.
That's one word for it. So you're down. Okay, so you're close to Golden Gate.
No.
How you gonna tell me? How you gonna tell me?
Isn't Golden Gate like over near Randleman?
No. Golden Gate Shopping Center.
All right, you've been in Greensboro way longer than I have. Tell me, what's up? Where am I at?
Oh my God. So if you come out of your school, make a right. I forget that. I turn on that road so many times. I forget that road that runs. It's bothering me now. But the point is, you come down. You're past the big Catholic church. If you keep coming down, you're over there near those shops, Planet Fitness, all of that. That's Golden Gate. The Subway, Gasson's, that's Golden Gate. You're right there by Church Street. Like you come down, that's Church Street. Cross over Church Street. The next street is Yanceyville. So I'm 5 minutes from Urban Park. You're 5 minutes from me.
Man, you should come through and say what's up one day.
No. I got to go through security. I got to go through all of that now.
How you got to go through security, man? You're a celebrity.
Well, whatever. Not celebrity. It's not the road that separates you and me is Cornwallis. Come on. You take Cornwallis all the way out. It dead ends in Yanceyville.
Okay. So I want to add. That's something that I've been wondering though. That's something I've been wondering.
Lord. Here we go, Jesus.
I gotta know because when I met you, you was in your entertainment bag. You was in your comedian bag, singer bag. I've heard you sing before. You sound quite beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. God has.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. So I gotta know what is it that led you to, I know that Bishop Dean is still in there somewhere, but seems like more of the bag that you are focused toward is the educational activist political bag. So what made you like hell that way? I have an idea because of what I saw in your video, but I want to hear from the horse's mouth, not call you a horse.
But you said the horse's mouth.
Yeah, but
I cannot. For those Adrian has always been that special cousin. He's always been that special cousin that grandma raised that you just have to contend with. So I have. So if y'all see I roll my eyes or hold my forehead, I do this with Adrian off camera. It's the same thing. He's make me tired. Adrian makes me exhausted. But to give you the short version, I was actually at a candidates forum for city council and mayor at Bennett College. This was in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
My councilman at the time I wasn't a fan of my council person at the time. And so I was letting him know some things I had read and researched that I didn't like that he was doing or felt some type of way. Someone there gave my name to an education advocate at the time, Lisa Harris. She inboxed me on Facebook and saying she wanted to meet with me ASAP. We met, we talked about the state of the education system. I had, no children at this time. I wasn't really concerned about the public education system at that time because I didn't have kids. So it's like out of sight, out of mind. And I was
Right.
like, well, aren't there? So when she showed me the state of public education in Guilford County, I said, well, what's being done about it? Don't you all elect people to, I see African Americans on the board, so you can't say it's, just the all white, normal stuff. What's going on? And she said they're not doing anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, the black folk ain't doing nothing about it. The black folk who've been there for over a decade. Well, I researched, and that turned out to be absolutely true. It still is true. So she said, well, I think you should run. I said, public office? Me being a public? Nah, I don't want people knowing where I live and all this other stuff. I had to really think about it and go back and forth with it and check with my family and all of that. So I said, well, why not? I'll file. It'll be an experience. I can say I did it. Keep going. At that time, I was working for a call center in High Point. So filed. No one else filed to run. The focus wasn't on school boards to the point to where every race was not contested.
Dang.
So technically I won. Then when people found out who Bishop Dean really was, and I wasn't a pastor, and I wasn't, didn't have a whole bunch of kids, and I didn't have all these degrees, and I had spoken publicly against Black respectability politics and the hypocrisy of some of the local Black leaders, then I had a write-in candidate. So went through all of that, spent over $10,000 personal.
No wonder you asked. No wonder you want me to put up your cash app.
Right. Personal. Running a campaign, did everything you could do wrong with a campaign, just about, except my books are right. But yeah, did all of that, won by a landslide, and then here I am in this position trying to figure out what to do, learn the system and process, dealing with new leadership coming in at that time because the superintendent was hired before I was officially installed on the board. So I did not get a chance to hire the superintendent. So I had to deal. I inherited staff and I inherited superintendent that I didn't get a chance to participate in the interviewing process. There was conversation about it, about me participating since I was set to be on the board, but ultimately it was done by my predecessors. So that's how I came to be on the board. I ran a grassroots campaign, turned a moment into a movement, and that movement continued over the next 3 years until folk thought I was, a puppet. And I was like, that's the wrong 6-letter word for me.
Well, okay. See, puppet just does not fit your character as well as I know. As far as I'm concerned, I tell people all the time, I know Byron. I've known Byron long before school board. Byron, and the Byron that I know is no one's puppet. The Byron that I know will challenge anything that just doesn't gel within his right pronouns. His.
Well, challenge my own mama. I don't know why people expect to be treated any different. If I'll challenge my own mother, who are you?
Okay, I never heard that story about you challenging your own mother.
I'm just saying, like, me and my mother have disagreements. I don't just accept everything my mother says. We, I challenge her on. We have differences on ideology and policy and representation in the Democratic Party. We have debates. We don't always agree. If I don't always agree with my mama, why would I always agree with you?
Which I will be honest with you. I'll be honest with you. To attain a position in school board, you're basically you could be nonpartisan, right? You don't have to be married to either Democrat or Republican, correct?
No, it used to be. It became partisan the
What?
year I won. Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me that you have to be either Democrat or Republican? Do you have the choice of being independent or Green Party or Libertarian?
You have the choice, but you have to write. You have to do a petition and get a percentage of registered voters in your district in order to be on the ballot. So I was elected at the time that Hillary and Trump had polarized. Well, and the media had polarized this country to red and blue. But it was actually Trudy Wade, who was a former Republican senator, that changed the school board to partisan, and the school board decided not to sue the state to change it back. They were one of the few school districts that didn't. Every school district that sued, it was declared unconstitutional, and they were allowed to remain nonpartisan. Guilford just chose to be lazy. Let's be honest.
I personally believe that any body of people that are responsible for my child's education. I don't have any children, but if I had a child, anybody of people should be governing on, directly to a direct effect, should be governing in a nonpartisan way. In other words, Democrats seem to be willing to be working with Republicans and Libertarians and Green Party independents and all that. Me, I'm independent. And that's why it kind of surprised me to see you running as a Democrat, because you just don't strike me as, your stereotypical black Democrat. I mean, you come off as like far left. Correct me if I'm wrong, which I know you will.
With some things, but what I have come to grow and to understand, trust me, I'm not far left. I've seen that both parties are in trouble.
Yeah.
And I feel that we need to have a third party.
Agreed.
Because looking into the background of, do you know why a lot of African Americans are Democrats?
Please tell me. I'm sorry for getting loud, but please tell me. Come on, take me to school. Why?
Okay. And I'm open to be, challenged about this. But based on my research, MLK was Republican. I think he was Republican initially.
He was old school Republican.
When he was arrested, of course, unfairly, unjustly, John F. Kennedy, a Democrat, reached out and pulled some strings with a judge that got MLK released. From that, MLK and JFK built a relationship, and MLK became a large proponent of democracy. So everyone that followed MLK felt that the Democrats were going to be more sympathetic and more of an ally than the Republican Party. So now the bullying that African Americans experience today, if they are not a registered Democrat or don't vote Democrat or say that Obama wasn't that great or whatever, this comes from years of this basically all rooted from a Democrat making a phone call to get you out of jail, and now you've turned all of your followers into that party. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but I read that. I was like, really? This is how we're here?
But
this is how we're here? Well.
But most Democrats frown on most traditional Democrats will frown upon socialism or democratic socialism. Martin Luther King was a democratic socialist. That's why so many Democrats pooped on Bernie. Who am I supporting in the primaries, though I'm not a Democrat?
Bernie.
Yeah, Bernie.
I was Bernie.
I was Bernie too.
Because if you're going to go that left and present something that's new, Why not do that? I mean, let's just be clear. Biden did what he. I mean,
Oh God.
here's the part people don't want
Yeah.
to talk about.
Let's go.
Without Bernie, there would be no Kamala Harris.
What's the world looking for? Explain, please.
Okay. Bernie, and I'm open to be corrected. But Bernie was the first presidential candidate to state that his VP would be a woman of color.
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth Warren was being looked at to be the running mate with Biden. Once that became put out there and became part of Bernie's movement, that we don't need two old white guys in the Oval Office again, Joe agreed. If you look at the timeline, Joe agreed to having a woman of color VP after Bernie led the way.
Okay, so tell me. Okay, so
Joe wasn't checking for a black or brown VP of color until it became popular, and it started, and the media started picking, well, who would be it, until the media was looking for that. He had to agree.
Okay, and that's where the presidential election took a very, very dangerous and horrible turn into being a popularity contest versus an election for a legitimate individual to run the country, which the president doesn't run the country. But that's a whole nother discussion. Might I ask you,
go.
Byron?
Your hotep done came out. There you go.
Look on where. Look on where. So okay, I gotta ask you, and yo. I'm not really no hotep. Just I respect opinions.
There's levels. Okay, there's levels.
Oh yeah,
I got you. There's levels. Okay, that's fine.
There's some hoteps who think that the white man is the devil. I don't think that. I got love for everybody.
Okay.
You included.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. So I want to ask you, what is your personal opinion about the current administration, Biden Harris? What's your current opinion? I mean, what's your personal opinion? I was just curious. I'm not going to contest it either way.
There's some more information I need. Because I'm not sure what the plan was. I mean, what's the plan for Kamala to run as president? After this 4 year. Well, no, because Joe has said he's running for re-election. So I'm not clear. Kamala has emerged from from DC and is now being more public. I've noticed a shift since it was leaked that they were having clashes over leadership, and her and Joe weren't seeing eye to eye, but now they are unified.
She called him a racist to his face during like what, the second Democrat debate. I mean, you think her opinions about him changed? No. She just started standing next to him and smiling in order to get in the White House, bro.
I think that there were deals, there were conversations that were made, and Joe has not, because the whole situation with COVID and what happened with the Haitians at the border, Kamala was supposed to handle that, was tasked with that. Did anybody see Kamala at the border? I mean, if there's video, I'll own it. But I mean, we never got a report or update about what happened with those Haitians that were trying to come into the country. We just know that she was tasked with it. I don't know. I'd have to Google and research what happened with that. I think that Kamala is the new Joe, in terms of, Joe Biden was on the shelf for 8 years that Obama was in office. Joe was there, but he was on mute largely. And I think he thought that he would run the same play with her, and she's not having it. but I don't see either of them winning re-election or election as president.
You think?
I don't see it coming uh out of this unless some things change in the 2022, and Kamala is seen more so in leadership and leading, or they're making decisions together publicly and that's visible. I don't see it, because her biggest thing is put me in the office and I'll show you what I can do. Technically she's in the office. I mean, the closest, I don't know, this is me. So technically she became the first female, the first woman to have presidential power in the White House when Biden underwent his colonoscopy.
Even though
So he had to have a colonoscopy for you to be in charge. You can't really read that another way. It's standard process, but and of course he's back, everything's fine. He's back, but it's like, I don't know. Obviously, if he dies, she becomes president. Uh, but I don't know. I think that this is like the presidential version of 90 Day Fiance.
I never
No,
saw them.
no, no, not 90 Day Fiance. Marriage at First Sight.
Never saw
Married at
them.
First Sight.
Never saw that either.
They're really not. They're really not super compatible. Not like Obama and Joe was. They're not. They're not compatible in the same way. There's not the same chemistry there. But Obama knew how to handle Joe. Joe had his agenda. Joe did what he had to do. Joe was visible. Joe would deal with people who were, very overtly racist to Obama. He would meet with them, and they had a system, and it worked for them. Coming to this administration, I don't,
Well,
I don't know.
well, I think there's a reason for that. I think that the reason will be is because Obama, though I'm not no Obama fan or anything, but
That's
you know,
valid. That's fair.
Obama, he seems like a really cool guy. He seems like he has a very likable personality. Kamala doesn't seem very likable, to be honest with you.
Well, I think that some of that is patriarchy and misogyny. I think that it's not. We don't know enough about Kamala to say that we like her or dislike her. I mean, I took a picture with her, and when she came here, and I mean, I didn't get any. I didn't get any negative vibe off Kamala, but I feel that we just don't know enough about her, because she, Californians do. I mean, she's from California. That's where where she represented. I'm sorry, where she lives and she's based out of. So they're more familiar with her. But America is still not trying to get to know her. But a lot of the preconceptions about her, I think it's because she's a woman and a woman of color. Now, you're looking at the Senate race, the Congressional Senate race that's happening in North Carolina. At all of next year, we're going to have hundreds of $millions pouring into North Carolina over this Senate race. This is going to be a battleground race where both sides are going for blood, and you have a number of African American women who are running, and my question is, if an African American woman wins the primary, will African American and Latino and other POCs, along with whites, back and elect an African American to represent the Senate as a senator in North Carolina? It's never happened.
Okay,
we have had House of Rep African American representation, G.K. Butterfield, Alma Adams. At least to my knowledge, we've never had an African American senator. And when I look at the percentage of African American men, I think it was over 40% of African American men who were Democrats voted for Mark Robinson in 2020. That says a lot about a person's mentality. So I don't know. I don't know if North Carolina is going to support an African American female candidate for Senate. We should, if they're qualified and they have the passion and they're accountable to all of North Carolina, because this is what's at stake here is the John Lewis Civil Rights Bill. This is our fight, like for the Civil Rights Voting Act. You know, this is our time to fight and to beat the ground and to register and turn out the vote, because we need this Senate seat in order to pass it in the Senate. The bill will pass the House all day long. We can't get it through to the Senate because we don't have enough senators. We can't even bring it to the floor to debate it, let alone pass it. And of course, we still don't know what Joe Manchin's going to do, and the other senators that seem to be wishy-washy every other day, every other month. We don't know what's going on. But the fact that African Americans have to have our voting rights renewed by Congress every 50 plus years. We're not as free as we think we are. Why is our right to vote conditional?
Every 50 plus years. I ain't been alive for 50 plus years. Okay, so let me tell you this.
We've only been able to vote we've only been able to vote, what, 50 years? No. 60.
The Voting Rights Act was passed in 64, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's less than 60.
Less than 60 years we've had the right to vote.
Do
you realize that women have had checking accounts for 30, about maybe 40 years?
So let's talk about that.
I don't know. You on your hotel ministry, so I don't know.
Well, okay. So first of all,
about 40 years, about 45 years, women have been able to have a checking account. Women couldn't have checking accounts until the 70s.
My hotel
in their name. Like, wow.
So let me tell you this. First of all, I am working every day on myself to find where there may be some increments of patriarchy and misogyny, and doing away with it. Because if women weren't here, we wouldn't be here. Yet they are capable of way more than that. Now,
I was wondering how you were going to finish that. Okay.
Let me finish. Let me speak my piece. So yeah.
But you drown. You swimming right now. Okay, go ahead.
Now, if Nina Turner was to run for president, I would have voted for her in a heartbeat. Even though she's a Democrat, still her ideologies they match up with what led me to voting for Bernie in both primaries they ran for. My beef with Kamala comes from all the people that she put in jail. My beef with Kamala comes from how when she was Attorney General, she did not prosecute the officer that killed Oscar Grant. My beef with Kamala is not based off of her gender. Not based off of her gender at all. My beef with her, I just don't get good. I just don't get good vibes. You know what I'm saying? Now, you've known me ever since when we met. You know me to be like a super religious person, right?
Right, but I do want to clarify, because I thought Kamala wasn't the prosecutor in the Fruitvale Station case. She wasn't the prosecutor.
Fruitvale, man. Come on, man. Whole movie's been made out.
Listen, I didn't watch the movie. I'm gonna confess. That's some more black movies I've gotta make the time to watch.
It's a great movie.
Fruitvale Station. Okay, I thought somebody said Fruitvale. Okay, all right.
But go ahead. Hey, man,
but she wasn't.
Right.
So you can't say that.
But I will tell you this. Even though I'm not team Kamala and Joe, I do respect them as the president and the vice president of the country that I live in. And I'm rooting for them to be successful in their endeavors that benefit you and me. Am I making
Okay.
sense?
Okay.
You getting
That's,
sleepy on me, man?
no, my eyes allergies. No, that's fair. You're
Yeah.
invested.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I felt the same way about Trump and Pence. Not
Okay.
a fan of them, but I'm rooting for them. I feel that way about all presidents, except for the founding fathers. I would not have been rooting for them to be successful in being slave owners. But yo, Byron, I got another
What
question for you.
that make? I mean, well, that makes sense.
I got a question for you, man. When are you going to rejoin me in the theater? When are you coming back to the arts, brother? We miss you in the theater.
In the theater.
The theater.
Well,
Well, when
you
are
mean in
you?
official capacity? I tried. I tried earlier this year. I went to an audition. It was so raggedy, I left. I'm looking. Like I said, if there's a right part or right, a right part or right energy, whether it's a musical, whether it's something, I'm always open to coming back to the stage. Hopefully, I'll be able to send you the DVD. The last play I did was with Liz Turner. Shout out
That
to
was your last play. Every eye closed ain't sleep.
no. So the play that we did, well, you were in it, right?
The devil thought he had me.
Right. Not that play. We actually did a version of Every Eye Closed Ain't Sleep. We did it at a church in uh was it in Virginia or was it North Carolina? I think which one. But
Heck if I know.
that one, when I tell you that was an Emmy, I deserved a North Carolina Emmy for that. But I haven't seen like we had audience members like they were in tears. Like me and Carlos will tell you, Byron went in. Byron went in and let have on that one. But I'm open to it. I'm open to doing comedy again. Well, I never stopped doing comedy. I've just been doing it for free, and I got to stop that. So I'm gonna start
Yes, I
charging
do.
for comedy next year. Now, you said earlier stand-up comedy. I sit down because my thighs they hurt standing, so I sit down. So I do sit down comedy. I don't
You're
stand up like
36,
that.
man. You're 36.
Hey, I know I'm 30 with on my 30th birthday. Let's be clear.
If you were 30 on your 630th birthday, you'd be 90, man. I think. Let me put that together. I'm not good at math.
See the achievement gap. But anyway, I digress. But nah, I'm look. You somehow done got an hour out of me.
That's what I do. That's what we do here on ADQ's Renaissance. I told you, you will enjoy yourself,
See,
sir.
now I know how your victims feel. I'm sorry, your girlfriends. I know how they feel now. They was like, we wasn't even planning. I wasn't even planning on talking to him no more. And now he done wore me down. I just tell you, you just get them. That's how you do. But
I
no, I'm
will.
definitely 2022. Stay tuned. But I'm also, I've been an entrepreneur. I currently manage a medical office. I have my own consulting business. I do consulting for medical contracts. I run a virtual call center from home as well. So I'm going to be looking at expanding and hiring employees starting next year. So yeah, brother, still, chasing to the coin. Like you know, for school board, for some people, it's their claim to fame and it's their you know, only source of income, unfortunately. So it was never mine.
Guy had
So
multiple bags,
I
man.
was able to be independent. And when things, when I wasn't, reelected again, uh, I was fine with that. And I'm still advocating. I recently was inboxed by a parent. Their child was suspended from school without the necessary paperwork and processes. And this was a kindergartner.
How you
Made
going
an
to suspend a
appointment.
kindergartner?
Right. Made an appointment. Went to the school. The child's suspension was reversed. They were placed into a new classroom because I said you have violated his constitutional rights and IDEA laws. Homie, don't play that. So either you put him back in school or this parent will contact an education attorney that I know, and we will sue you.
So just to be 100% clear, you can run to get back on the school board every 2 years, right? Because I saw that you every 4. Because I saw that you ran in 2020. So you can run again in 2024, correct?
I could, but I could also run next year.
You can run next year
for a different seat.
Okay. All right.
Because at large is up next year, so I could run next year.
Well, if you do run, I will make sure that your trailer is played on every single episode. Your political announcement is played on every single episode.
Don't send anything with GCS email. Don't use GCS email for any campaigning or forwarding a campaign message.
No.
I'm not saying you do, but I'm just letting you all know, and any of your viewers, co-workers, do not campaign using GCS email or any school email. That is a violation of your code of conduct and ethics, etc., etc.
This is completely unrelated to GCS. This is an ADQ thing.
Right. I'm just saying, in that, just trust me. People have lost their jobs over that, not understanding that. So I just want to make sure, put it out there as a PSA. Don't do it.
Yeah. This is me wanting to support my friend and see my friend continue to make the incredible change that he is in the process of making. And also, I want to thank you for something. When we first met, I'm pretty sure, I want to say this publicly too. When we first met, I'm pretty sure that you could tell that I was pretty homophobic, right? Just didn't care, right?
Well, I think you being homophobic at that particular time was the least of my worries and yours, because you were a whole hot ass mess. You were a mess. You was a hot dog with chili mess. You was a mess. You were. So I really didn't care, because I knew at the end of the day, whoever, which I think I was single. No, I was single. Met. Regardless of who I was single. Okay, regardless of who I was sleeping with, that didn't stop from the fact that you needed to eat and needed a ride home back and forth from rehearsals. So it didn't matter. It really didn't matter what you thought about how I identified, because you were struggling and you needed help. So regardless of what you thought about me, it didn't stop me from helping you.
Well, I want to say that you, a couple of some friends of mine, and my sister, y'all have helped me. Y'all, and also going to Guilford College, has helped me open up my mind and just say, "Yo, I love y'all. I love y'all. I love my brothers and sisters in the LGBTQIA plus community. I love y'all because y'all love me." And I have no right to judge anybody by their lifestyle, who they sleep with, none of that.
It's not a lifestyle.
Who they are as a person. Daggone.
Right. You being vegan is a lifestyle.
I'm not vegan. I'm vegetarian. I'm trying to be a vegan.
Well, you not eating meat is a lifestyle.
Okay, so
that's a preference.
So let me rewind. Who you are as a person. You love me. I love you. So I can happily say that I'm not homophobic.
Oh, you're in recovery. Oh.
Can you even say recovery?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. It's always in you're always in a state of recovery, because it could take one video, one negative comment, one Dave Chappelle special, one something, and you'd be like, you know what, I really get where they're coming from, and this, that, and the other, and you're kind of back there. So it's always a state of recovery, because we're constantly renewing our mind. We should be daily. And when people say, well, I'm used to, somebody posted something on Facebook. They posted they were pro hetero. I said, well, isn't that a funny phrase? Pro hetero.
Pro hetero.
I know. I was like, I mean, okay, you're basically you're pro traditional families. I I am too. I'm pro traditional families. I'm pro non-traditional families. I'm pro family. So you're making the distinction. You're creating a subcategory in something that shouldn't really that doesn't really matter or you know or benefit you or impact you in a negative way.
That
And
sounds
this
as crazy
person's
as a men's
also a
rights group.
vegan. Right, and this person's also a vegan. I said, so are you going around saying, I'm pro vegan or I'm pro plant? And are you having issues and being anti meat? And people who eat meat are going to hell? You know, honestly, I think people, again, America, and this comes from systemic racism. We have to compartmentalize how people identify in order to feel comfortable. If a black guy walks into the room, we have to identify whether or not he's a threat or not. Can we fight him or not? You know, is he light enough or dark enough to trust or not? All these Jim Crow-esque type mentality instead of, does this human make me feel safe, or does this human even bother me that they're in here? We go to all these boxes. Like, let it go. Like,
It's gonna be a box. You're Byron. I'm Adrian. What's up?
right. Just, I mean, let it go with all the boxes. And somebody posted, oh my goodness, I wish I would have thought about it. But this, it's on my Instagram. Lord knows, IG has just been very real for
So
me.
yeah.
But this lady posted that wearing wearing dresses doesn't make me as a woman feel sexy or confident, or saying that women look nice in dresses or women should wear skirts, or women said, she said it has nothing to do about me being feminine or them looking good or not looking good. She said, wearing dresses makes it easier for sexual assault. And I thought, I said, you know what? Because men have a tendency to, like, when you see people comment, men comment on women's pages, oh, you're beautiful, or I think you'll be beautiful with no makeup, or I think you'll be beautiful if you wear a wig or get a lace front or dye your hair. When we come up with all these beauty standards, that has nothing to, a woman's perception of beauty has nothing to do with us as men. It is about how she feels as a woman on what's beautiful on her. When we start telling women what it is to feel beautiful, we set them up for impossible beauty standards, self-esteem issues, and self-hate and self-loathing, because we're telling them what works instead of them finding out what works best for them and loving all of them through that process.
So I
That's
told a woman.
misogyny.
So I told a woman this. I told a woman this recently, and this is actually a woman who I'm very much interested in. I told her because she told me that she doesn't feel beautiful, right? I
Mhm.
told her that she is beautiful because her outer beauty is a reflection of her inner beauty. Yeah, that was dope. That was deep, wasn't it?
No.
Yes, it was. I don't care what you say.
Well,
But,
because you're telling her what her beauty is. Did you ask why does she feel that way?
oh my goodness.
Why? Because here's the thing. Why? Men think that we can fix everything. It's just this default, this patriarchal structure. We think that we're supposed to fix it. You bring a problem to us, we're supposed to solve it. Some
Mhm.
things we cannot fix and change and heal. Some things people have to go through and involve professionals in some cases and work it out. We're not meant to solve every problem.
I guess that's that male. Let's see. That male. Hold on. I'm trying to find it. Male savior complex, right?
Right.
Okay, see, I know some of the stuff. Well, I was feeling very complimentary at the moment, so
Well, I don't think that was a compliment. I, me outside looking in, I think you just added another layer.
Oh my God.
Because if here's the thing, I could tell you that there's a snake in front of you getting ready to bite you. If you don't see it, what's the point?
I'll freak out. You'll see me in full
But
on freak out mode.
you have to see the snake, right?
Yeah.
Me telling you doesn't mean you know how to dodge it. You have to see it. So if you can't see it, then me telling you what I see doesn't change. You have to see it.
Well, I will say I'm glad that you are patient enough with me and others to forward that type of information and not do what a lot of people do and just snipe and yell and stuff. And
Well,
jump
y'all
in.
men are crazy. So yeah, do have patience to try to help some of y'all. Yeah. It comes and goes. It comes in waves.
Speaking of which, when I refer to you as his, am I using the right pronouns?
Yeah. My pronouns are he, him, his, single.
Okay. So you're a man too. What the heck? Talking about y'all men.
Oh, your other intersectionalities. Traditionally hetero-identified, all that stuff. All your intersectionalities, y'all are interesting.
Okay, now I'm confused.
Right. It's okay.
We're
It's okay. We're going to get you free.
going to get you free.
We're going to get you free, Lord.
So Byron, tell me this. What does the future look like for you? In regards to stage and in regards to politics, what's the future look like for you?
Hopefully great. I mean, hopefully great. Hopefully well. You know, taking charge of health because, like I said, everybody's gained weight during COVID. And things like that. So definitely getting recommitted to fitness goals, but also continuing to address mental health. James Baldwin said to be Black in America is to be enraged all the time. And, with cases that come out like Rittenhouse and, Botham Jean, and we still don't have justice for Breonna Taylor. The city still hasn't settled with the family here in Guilford for
Marcus Dion
Marcus
Smith.
Dion Smith. It's like, how are you supposed to do all of this and be all of this? I mean, think about, well, actually, yeah, think about it because we typically don't. Think about what your subconscious mind goes through when you're getting ready in the morning and when you hit that door. Subconsciously, we're preparing for the fact that we may not get back home. Subconsciously, we're preparing that there are going to be people who are going to judge us off the color of our skin, and being darker hued, a whole nother level of discrimination, even from our own community. Being, a thicker guy. All the implicit bias and explicit bias you're going to receive during the day. And that's not supposed to impact you or affect you. I mean, children get up and they expect people to love them and be nice to them largely every day. They're not thinking about what they look like or what they wear or don't wear will make somebody feel any type of way or mistreat them. That's taught. And so we think about that subconsciously and we wonder why we're dealing with hypertension in our community. Yes, diet is a part of it. Systemic racism ultimately is the culprit because access to fresh fruit and vegetables is more expensive to buy food that goes from ground to store than it is from those foods that go from ground to plant to lab to everything else. So healthier food is expensive over processed food. So we have all these things, these environmental factors, these systemic factors, state violence. This has been the first year in North Carolina that a woman or a man could revoke their consent for sex and it actually be considered rape. Think about that. Prior to 2020, if a woman sent you a text message, let's say, AD, and let's hook up on Thursday. And Thursday comes and you go over there and she was like, well, no, I changed my mind. Legally, you could have forced sex on her, and it would not have been considered rape because you had a text message saying that she gave consent. That was legal in North Carolina until a year ago.
Dang.
That's a
messed
form
up.
of state violence, as well as pregnant women in North Carolina were handcuffed when they were giving birth. Their ankles and their arms they were shackled.
Why?
Because they wouldn't run away. But think about the trauma that puts on somebody giving birth as well as a child. I think that law has also been changed. So I mean, so we talk about we talk about state violence, and for people who are recovering homophobes or feel they're no longer homophobic and this and the other. If you are black and brown, and with what we have experienced from white supremacy in this country, you are having to fight for the right to just exist and make mistakes right or wrong every day. Those who are white, black, and brown in the LGBT community are fighting for the same thing: the right to make and choose decisions, good or bad, that they feel are appropriate. We're fighting the same thing. So why fight each other? Because those who are black and queer in the community are dealing with discrimination. It is a candle lit at both ends. So a lot of homophobes, black and brown homophobes, march to Black Lives Matter. I'm a firm believer all black lives have to matter to all black people. And right now they still don't. They matter till your son says, that, or your daughter says that I may like girls or I may like boys. Then they're put out, they're beaten, they're killed. There was a young boy who was apparently effeminate, and they took clippers and cut his hair off, and I think they buzzed in the F word into his head. They did it on camera, and CPS was called in and investigated that family. That child's now living with his grandmother.
What a
So,
sick world we live in.
well, it's sick when we say that because it's a child, but when we rape and kill trans women of color, and you have straight black women who are very homophobic get on apps and specifically target black trans women to have sex with them and then kill them because they don't want them to tell, because they're ashamed, because they're really that there's some trauma that may have happened in their life, that they're a self-hating individual, and they're self-hating because of their sexual urges or fetishes or both, or curiosity. When straight black men say, well, I used to be and this is not directed at you, this is just in general, when they say, well, I used to be homophobic, or I'm homophobic, or I'm transphobic, I said, oh, okay, well, I think I have more reason to be scared of you than you of me, because black women, unless the stats have drastically changed, are still leading in the number of new HIV infections. So who are they sleeping with? Straight black men. So I mean, you're bothered, I'm bothered. So
Wow.
that speaks to a mentality. That's a lot of self-hate, self-denial, and obviously lack of medical awareness and prevention. There's an article, and I'll send it to you, and I'd love to come back and have a conversation about it. There's an article that says straight black men have white privilege in the black community.
That was this is not this is not my first time hearing that.
Have you ever read the article?
I have not read the article, but
I'll send you the article.
I will say that I, as a straight black man, have yet to experience privilege of any type. That's not my truth.
What I will say is that it is so normalized, you may not realize it's privileged. Would you be open to that debate and have that conversation? I think it's so normalized that it feels you wouldn't know the difference.
Okay. You talk. I'm open minded. I'm open to any conversation. So what you're saying is, um, that it has like been a normal tradition for so many years to be outwardly heterosexual. That if you're trans or gay, um, you're more so ostracized, and it's a privilege to, and it's more like equal upon the lines of white privilege to be a heterosexual male. But if you're part of the LGBTQIA community and you're male, you're ostracized, you're vilified. Does that about slice it?
Yeah, I think it's a good summation. I could even make it easier. George Floyd, Breonna Taylor.
Derek Chauvin's in jail for 12 years. Breonna Taylor's killers have yet to be found. Have yet to be prosecuted.
The difference is an outrage. So let me run this down, because I know some of your viewers, like I said, you might have to bring me back. Some folk may want to come up and have conversations. But this is one article. This is from theroot.com, citing my source. And this is a straight black man wrote this. So he's saying, we're the ones for whom the first black president created an entire initiative to assist and uplift. We're the ones whose beatings and deaths at the hands of the police galvanized the community in a way that the beatings and sexual assaults and deaths that those same police inflict upon black women do not. We're the ones whose mistreatment inspired a boycott of the NFL. Despite the NFL's long history of mishandling and outright ignoring far worse crimes against black women. We are the ones who get the biggest seat at the table and the biggest piece of chicken at the table, despite making the smallest contribution to the meal. And nowhere is there more evident than when we consider the collective danger we pose to black women and our collective lack of willingness to accept and make amends for that truth. It's a damning and depressing paradox. When speaking about race and racism, we want our concerns and our worries and our fears to be acknowledged. We want white people to at least make an effort to understand that our reality is different from theirs, and that white supremacy is a vital and inextricable part of America's foundation. And we grow frustrated when they refuse to acknowledge their role historically and presently in propagating it. When the racism isn't blatant or doesn't appear to exist at all, we want them to give us the benefit of the doubt, because we've trained ourselves to be able to sense it. We share how it feels to be stopped by a police officer. But when black women share that we pose the same existential and literal danger to them that whiteness does to us, and when black women ask us to give them the benefit of the doubt about street harassment and sexual assault and other forms of harassment and violence we might not personally witness, and when black women tell us that allowing our cousins and brothers and co-workers to use misogynistic language propagates that culture of danger, and when black women admit how scary it can be to get followed and approached by a man while waiting for a bus or walking home from work, and when black women articulate how hurtful it is for our reactions to domestic abuse and their rapes and murders to be what women need to do differently to prevent this from happening to them, instead of what we men need to do differently to prevent us from doing this to them, their words are met with resistance and outright pushback.
Dang.
Sandra Bland wasn't a victim to a lot of people in the black community until more information came out about her case. She was dismissed by a lot of black men regarding her murder, when the other woman, and there's been so many, but the woman who barricaded herself from police and shot through the door, and they were breaking into her apartment and they killed her while she was holding her baby. Black men said, and black women, but largely black men said, she shouldn't have done this, she shouldn't have done that. We never gave her the title of victim. We never said she was a victim. We only said how she could have fixed herself for that not to happen. We victim blamed and shamed. And we do when it comes to rape and sexual assault. Women don't need to wear longer skirts and longer shirts and button up collars. Men need to stop being predators and learn how to deal with rejection and get mental health to address being rejected by you advancing on a woman and she says no. That's not a license to rape her. That's not a license to beat her or throw your gun on her. But we have more black men that are thinking that and acting on that every day. And that's straight, identified straight black men.
As a license to move on to
hetero honeys.
So what?
Nothing. I just came up with a nickname. It tickled me. I want to use that. Okay, go ahead.
I was about to say that's a license to move on to someone who would be interested.
Right. So that's why earlier mentioned about your girl about saying, I think you're beautiful on the outside and that your outside reflects the inside. You actually determine where she should feel her beauty comes from instead of her figuring that out for herself. And that's actually oppressive and misogynistic of you to do so. Even though you had the best of intentions, you can't fix how a person feels about themselves. You can only support them while they're going through that self-discovery journey of finding out where their beauty is, where their happiness is. You can't tell them. Just like I can't tell you you should be okay with being a black man in America with how things are. Well, you're fine. It's not that bad. Just get another job, work 3 jobs. Stop being lazy. You would look at you. You're already frowning. Why are you feeling some type of way about it though?
I'm frowning because I'm processing what you're saying.
Yeah, but all you need to do is get a second job. You're not making enough money to get another job. It's not about what the white man does or didn't do. You just need to fix yourself. Build your worth up. Well, maybe you need to go back to school. Maybe you need to focus and get serious about your life. I could say all those things and have the best intention for you. That doesn't make it accurate. I'm just telling you what's wrong with you. I'm not a doctor. And we even have racism in medical care. You can't always take a doctor's word for it. You have to know Shakespeare, to thine own self be true. Period.
Byron, you are dropping so many gems. You are dropping so many gems that I'm sweating from it. Get Jim sweat? No. Okay. You are dropping a lot. You are dropping a lot of knowledge, and I really appreciate that. I will say though, I would say to anyone who watches this, anyone who hears this, me, I am I consider myself to be open-minded. I am open to hearing what it is that you have to say, because someone like me who grew up old school, who has a few conservative values. I don't want my conservative values to hurt nobody. Recently I was in a Bible study and I heard someone say, okay, I said, hope I don't sound misogynistic with any of this. But I said, and this was in regards to whether or not a dude should wear facial hair or not. I said 4 words: listen to the woman. Then one dude said, well, the Bible says that the woman's supposed to listen to us. That kind of that troubled me very much so.
People use the Bible as a justification to whatever make their point.
Yeah.
But tell them that if we're going to quote that, let's quote the part about the slaves, how slaves are supposed to behave in the Bible, because we're all acting in full war against those instructions. Our ancestors rebelled against those instructions. So what does that put us? People use the Bible to justify everything, and to make their point. I'm a firm believer that in God, that there is a higher power, higher deity, and that God continues to speak beyond those 66 books. We stopped writing because there's probably some stuff that we didn't want to hear, and so it hasn't been recorded. You ultimately have to have a relationship with the Creator, and that Creator will direct you into how you are to dress, walk, talk, speak, live, love, everything else. But you have to know who you are and know whom you are. And no book or a person's perception of you can build that sustainable. You have to know that. And so I definitely appreciate you being open. I'll encourage you and your listeners to, crack a book, read, continue to read articles about, oppression, misogyny, transphobia that's very real, that's happening. I mean, the average life expectancy of a Black trans woman is 35 years old. They are being killed at genocide rates in this country, and no one is saying anything. Family members are just burying them with their dead names and in boys' clothes, and not recognizing their truth and their freedom. And it's happening in the South, across this country. Black, brown, Latina, they're being murdered, and there is no outrise. There's no outcry from that, because we don't want it to be our family member. We don't want it to be that, oh, we've got a cousin that's transitioning. Let alone our child at 5 years old to say, I don't want to, I don't want to wear pants. I want to wear a dress. Sexuality these conversations are not new. They're just uh, being more public. The number of kids who would kill themselves and no one knew why, it could have been because of struggling with their gender identity, knowing how their family felt about that, or being teased and picked on. We've got kids in kindergarten, first grade, second grade that are committing suicide. And we're still of the traditional mentality and ideology. It's either heaven or hell. We're still, we cannot raise our children the way our parents raised us, because a lot of that beatings and spankings and all this other stuff was rooted in slavery. But it's all that they knew, even though they had access to learn different. It was all that they chose to know and accept. We have to be different with this generation, because they are our leaders of today and tomorrow. And I just don't think we're there. And I think we're really going to suffer for it years down the road. If we don't listen to this generation, if we don't get on their level of understanding what is happening to them, it is going to be a major problem, along with global warming and everything else. We're going to have leaders that are not emotionally stable enough to lead. Well, we've already seen that with Trump and Kanye and some other folk, but
Kanye, Kanye's an interesting subject. I saw his Sunday service stream earlier. It was very dope. Very dope. But yo, Byron, before we got on, I asked you how long can I get with you? You said 30 minutes. We've been going for almost 2 hours, yo.
You know what? This is a trick of the enemy. This is honestly a trick. Oh, I did want to mention this regarding the home folk you said earlier. We had some conversations during our early friendship, but honestly, it was just me being me that I think helped to break down the stereotypes of what you thought, uh, LGBTQ community was. And I think you just seeing that. I mean, there's been times that you stayed at my house. You were the only straight person that stayed the night in a house full. Remember, we went to Charlotte You stayed over the night before because we had a show in Charlotte.
Yeah, I remember.
So you remember Chris? We were all technically you were the only straight person at the house, and nothing absolutely happened. Nothing would happen there. The point is that you were around people that were focused on themselves and not focused about you in any type of inappropriate manner. And so I think that helped to challenge stereotypes, because the biggest thing I hear from people who are proudly homophobic is, I don't want anybody looking at me this type of way. No one is looking at you. No one is checking on you. No one is, being weird with you in the bathroom. These are, and a lot of times there is sexual trauma. Not every time, but a lot of times there is some form of sexual trauma or violation. And it's not always a male, but it's largely male and largely straight identified male that is caused to sexual trauma with someone who is very overtly homophobic.
Let me address that real quick. And then I'm going to need to get your contact information, how people can contact you. And I'm getting hungry. So let me tell you this. A couple years prior to me meeting you, my sister, who's really my cousin, but I love her like a sister.
Okay.
She came out. I didn't know how to handle it. I found out that a childhood friend was engaged to a man. At the time, I didn't know how to handle it. I knew what the Bible says about homosexuality. I knew I was raised to think. About homosexuality, as this big, huge, unpardonable sin. That was what I was operating off of at that time. But as the years went by, I've gotten to know you. I've had these beautiful conversations with my sister. I've made friends from the LGBTQIA plus community. I went to Guilford College, which is like the most liberal place on earth.
That is debatable. That is very debatable.
The most liberal place on earth that I've been to. Okay, how's that?
I will say, okay, now that's fair. Now I will say Guilford College was the first college that had non-gender bathrooms, and I actually used a non-gender bathroom. It was male and female, and all in the same restroom. And it was an experience. It was a very positive experience. It was no different. Like, no one felt any type of way. There was privacy. It was just like going to it was nothing. I said, these, really. But yeah, Guilford College was the first college that I'm aware of in Greensboro that had non-gender conforming restrooms.
I had a
most of
crazy
their
moment
facilities.
when I went to UNCG and I walked out of a non-gender restroom, and a cis woman walked in afterwards. Now, that has just been a part of my growth. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, going there, being in the theater will open you up in one way or another. All of that it's helped me come to the conclusion. It's helped me come to, I can't even say conclusion because I'm forever growing. But it's helped me come to where I'm at right now, where I'm like, yo, God loves you just like well, heck, even I'm like getting past the whole what's God's gender, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But God's traditionally called he. Could that be patriarchy? Possibly. But my point is, God loves me. God loves me same way that God loves you. It's not. We are not at a place to judge. I love my Bible, but I question those 66 books.
I think that we should, and I love your evolution and process, and I hope that it will continue to evolve. And that's why I said recovery, because just because we think that, I don't hate the thought of somebody being gay or queer or in a same gender relationship. I'm okay with that. Something that you said earlier, and I want to uplift. I want to push back for you to think about. You know, when your cousin came out and your childhood friend you said was engaged with a man, what you stated, your initial reactions was about how their announcement made you feel, not about how much danger their announcements put them in.
You're gonna push back against everything I say, aren't you?
Well, no, but this is where the you know, the oppressive, this is where the part that you don't think about, the implicit bias, that you're just like, I felt like, oh my gosh, how do you said how do I, you internalize your feelings about it, but your first thoughts weren't, are they going to be safe? Are they going to be a target? Is somebody going to bash them? Is somebody going to beat them or kill them just because they're living their truth? How are they feeling? Have family members cut them off? Have they been you know, thrown out on the street? Have they been called, you know, they're going to hell in their abomination? We when we hear news like that, and this is just community, and we have to process how we're going to deal with it. But we have to challenge ourselves to be first for the other person before we deal with it ourselves. If you hear somebody's died, we do it when somebody's dead. We process our feelings on the back burner while we're taking care of, you know, more emotional family members or young children, whatever. We don't immediately process our emotions when someone dies. But when someone is telling you that they're living better than they've ever lived before because they're living in their truth, and it's a scary and exciting thing at the same time, we focus on if we're going to accept them instead of are they okay. You know, do you have resources? Has anybody been mean to you? Have you been receiving threats? You know, are we don't check in with them. We're just like, oh, okay. Oh, okay. Because we think that, because, but I'm telling you, I'm saying that to say we have to get out of the mentality that it is a preference. That's why we react like they've made a choice. The only choice they made was to tell you. That's the only choice that was made. But we react like, oh, they're choosing not to eat meat anymore. They're choosing to dye their hair, or they're choosing to, you know, to date, you know, a big person versus a skinny person, or vice versa. We think it's just a preference. So we react to it, not that they've just made a choice to tell people about what they feel that puts them in the spotlight for ridicule, for trauma, violence, rape, everything else. It doesn't cross our minds that by them being coming out of the closet, they have gone into the lion's den. And we need a shift in that thinking. When my friend told me that she was trans, my first reaction was I was processing, but I said, "Are you okay? How is your family? How's your living situation? Are you know, are things stable? Has it, you know, because you know, I'm making sure she was able to have her own income and money because family can be cruel. So she was independent and able to sustain herself. And she appreciated that. She said, yeah, thank you for making sure I have what I need. Now I dealt with my feelings after I made sure she was okay. But I also checked the hierarchy and what that really was. How is the person who's told me the news? Because if somebody says I have cancer or I have AIDS, we're not focusing on, well, I don't know how to feel about that. We're focused on how the person is because we understand the dangers and risk of what they said. That's all.
I promise you there will be no dead space, but yet here I am befuddled. But in a good way, cause hey, I'm learning. I should rename this episode the Bishop Dean Learning Hour. Or
I mean,
or
talk back to pushback because we have to be challenged with our rhetoric of thinking. Like there are spaces that I go into that are uncomfortable for me. Barbershops, believe it or not, are not a comfortable space for me.
really?
No. I
I
don't
going to
feel
the
that
shop. You know what I'm
barbershops.
saying? Give him a
No,
fresh
because
cleanser.
well, I mean, no, because there's a lot of homophobia in barbershops. There's a lot of misogyny and patriarchy in barbershops that we've just normalized as as normal or as to be understood. Like women are undressed and their body parts if they're bringing children in or coming in themselves to get haircuts. Comments are being made about their bodies. Conversations about what was on TV or on the game or hip hop music with very abusive lyrics are playing throughout the barbershop. At barbershops, a lot of them, not all, a lot of them can be a very toxic environment for women and queer people because okay, let's say you have a good barber and he finds out that you're queer, is he still going to cut your hair? Does he think that if his knee hits your arm when he's turning you in the chair, that you might be trying to hit him or come on to him? There's so many dynamics that you don't think about because you don't have to because of how you identify. You don't even think about these things when you go into the barbershop. But I challenge you the next time that you go, listen to the conversations that are had that don't even pertain to you, but other people could hear. And look at how if women walk in, in and out, and boys who may be effeminate walk in and out, and the conversations that are had. I mean, I had this example. I had a buddy of mine. I was a mentor to her son who came out while he was still in high school. He could not go to his barbershop anymore, particular barbershop, because his mother was actually in an intimate relationship with his barber. And he found out about it when he came home and they were in the middle of da 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 da. But that wasn't just it. His barber would make comments about his mother, sexual comments about his mother in the barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
And that bothered him. And so having the conversation with both of them, I said, you have now made an already gray space for him, a red space for him because of the decisions that you made. And I said, and this barber is speaking very explicitly about you with your son being there. She continued to see the barber after. I mean, it amazes me. But he had to go, he found another barber. He just said, I just can't be here. I don't want somebody talking about my mom like that or talk about any woman like that.
Well, I know that the barbershop I go to is a loving environment. Shout out to Kingdom Cuts.
Where's
But
Kingdom Cuts?
Kingdom Cuts is over on Gate City. It's like close to U-Haul over on Westgate City. Near Fahim's store. Fahim handle?
I haven't been to Fahim's new store, but okay, I'm familiar with where the U-Haul place is on Gate City. So okay, it's that area. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Kingdom Cuts, I guess what their religious base is. That the whole thing behind Kingdom Cuts, Kingdom of God. That I'm sure.
Because we got to keep this kingdom mind about us. Because now I'm about to go hotel. Because
it's the hotel. Wait a minute, that's the hotel barbershop.
No, that is not a
Okay.
hotel barbershop.
That is
They're
the
very
hotel
Christian barbershop.
hotel barbershop. That's the
I said I'm
hotel
getting hotel
barbershop.
because we're all.
You talking about the kingdom? Well, we're the gods. We're gods on the earth. So that's where you go for that. That's the kingdom. That's the hotel central. That's the hotel headquarters. Okay,
We
you
don't have
say
a problem
so.
with hotels.
Listen. What now? Look. First of all, dear white people, they have a great example of hotels. But what I will say is that's where it's at. And I think some of those conversations and ideologies, there are spaces for that in some ways. But because I mean, they're more black nationalists, like pro-black nationalists.
Right.
I mean, there's a space for everyone at some point in the conversation. It's like, are we willing to have it?
I very much agree.
That's very much there. Like, are we willing to have it? Now, you got 30 seconds, and I'm hanging up because let's be very clear. This was on gratis. My speaking fee is $500 flat. But I'm here supporting ADQ.
Okay, so if people, okay, so if re- so Byron, if people wanted to hit you up for more support in regards of the education system, if people wanted to hit you up to donate to your 2022 campaign, if people wanted to cash you in a play, how could they contact you?
Don't. Don't. Now,
Dude,
uh, Byron Gladden Facebook, Byron Gladden Twitter. Um, I have fan pages connected to my Facebook page. Really, Facebook, because I love to troll on Instagram. So I mean, I don't have a public Instagram, but yeah, Facebook, Byron Gladden. I thought I would be a lot less busy post school board, but I'm still right there having those community conversations, directing panels, uh, being participating in panels, discussions. But we got to get to a place where we're not doing so much talking and we're actually doing moving. For example, the African American Caucus, the Guilford County one, it's $20 to join the caucus. We're having elections in the next few weeks, as well as the state level African American Caucus. So, join the African American Caucus. It's for you, by you, and we need young millennial members, especially, to push it, to get involved, to raise the standard, because it seems like, and I could be wrong, you have certain black leaders that have tried to duplicate MLK and push and get people out in the street, but when they get in, behind those closed doors, they're negotiating for themselves a lot of times and not us. So once they get what they want, they turn into gatekeepers against us and the rising millennials and the rising issues. So black people got to stop selling us out at the table. You organize us until your demands are met, not ours. And we've got to hold those black people accountable and throw them out of office.
okay, so would you say that how do you feel about? I gotta ask you this real quick. How do you feel about the Congressional Black Caucus?
I don't feel anything about it.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
I think that, there's a place for it, whether or not, when it comes to those high level DC caucus and stuff like that, I, I'm frustrated with politicians in general, but at the same time, it takes so much money to get to those seats, and it takes even more money to stay in those seats. And even though they're paid a salary, what it takes to run a whole office and to be present and to be visible and do all this other stuff, they're having to depend on lobbyists and PACs and other stuff. And with those money comes directions and ultimatums and opinions. And so they may have started off being a passionate, I want to change the world, I want to make change candidate. But once they're elected, if they're not independent, wealthy, they they falter and they fall in a lot of different ways, and it's really sad.
so I guess you won't be seeking to run for president anytime soon.
Absolutely not. Even though I'm finally old enough, like I like that's because what they're going on, I was like, gosh, you got to be a certain age to even think about running for president.
Yeah, you gotta be 35. Ha ha
You got
ha.
to be 35 to run for president in this country. My God, not vice president, but president. Well, I guess vice president, since the potential of being president, you'd have to meet the age requirement. So you have to be at least 35 to run for VP. I guess that would be fair. I'm not sure exactly of how that would work, but I guess that would make sense. But all black people, like I said, um, all black people are not woke, and all black people are not pro-black. And so we've got to get out of the default with that. I remember, I say this and I'm done. One of my colleagues on the school board said this to me because I raised an issue with their effectiveness. I still have issues with their effectiveness. They're still on the board. Um, and she said, I will keep getting elected as long as I put my name on the ballot. I said, wow, that's overly confident. She said, because my district, which is a lot of poor black and brown, they are not empowered to hold me accountable because they really don't know what I do. They don't know what how bad of a job I'm doing or good of a job I'm doing because I'm not on their radar. So they just vote for me because they've seen my name on the ballot for the past 15 years.
You know,
So I thought about that and I said, she's not the only black elected official that thinks that way. She's not the only one.
so I'm going to tell you this. This is where I see it. In the time that we've known each other in the recent years, I hope you could tell by my logo, very beautifully designed. I'm red, black, green. I'm Pan African. Man, quit sighing so daggone hard.
Was that? I was taking a breath. It was a breath.
Okay,
I'm
breathe.
hungry too.
Breathe. Okay, I'm about to be done. Daggone.
No, I'm just like, really? Yeah, we need a whole. Okay. Wait a minute. Let me go to my notes to make sure I'm clear. I love to research things real time when I hear, because it's.
Byron?
Okay. I'm here.
Pan Africanism for me, red for the African blood that we have, black for the melanin that we have, green because we're the first to walk Earth. Don't be yawning on Pan African ideology.
I'm young. Shut up.
So to me,
oh, okay. I'm okay. I need to do more research before I say, oh, I'm Pan African too. But I had to refresh myself because not many people. I don't have anybody that is confessed to be Pan African American. I mean Pan African. I'm sorry. So yeah. I mean I think we're all have a measure of Pan Africanism in us. Go ahead. I'm here for
that's where my political ideologies lie. Where are what can we do for each other? So wow, all skin folk ain't kinfolk.
They're not.
There are house Negroes out there. You know what I'm saying?
No. I don't.
What?
I mean, you would have to define what a house. What is a house Negro? I don't know these terms, sir. What is
You don't know what a house Negro is, man?
What is a house? I'm not
You don't
familiar.
know Fetchy, man?
Excuse me.
You don't know Fetchy? You don't know Sambo? You don't know none of them terms?
I don't recall a Sambo. I don't recall a Sambo. I don't know what a Sambo is. What's a Sambo?
Sambo is basically a black person who is dancing around, putting himself and his people in a place of embarrassment in order to entertain in one way or another white people. A house Negro. I'm not going to say the C word, but a house Negro. That too, but they are willing to bend over backwards to make sure their master is in the best spot ever. Now you want to know who is the first person who comes to mind when I say house Negro right now? Sheriff David Clark.
Who?
Sheriff David Clark. You remember him? He spoke at Trump rally. The Republican National Convention.
Yes.
Now, let me preface that by saying I have no problem with a black Republican. I have a high degree of respect for Dr. Ben Carson, but prior to politics, when he got into
didn't he die? No,
he's not dead, man. He's very much alive.
No, one of the pro-black Trumps did die from
Herman
COVID.
Cain.
Okay, I knew it was somebody. Okay, all right.
Now, this is what I'm saying. I think that we would be very much beneficial if black conservatives, black liberals, black progressives, black socialists, black nationalists, all of us got to a room together and said, hey, you're my cousin, you're my brother, you're my sister, your whatever, what is going to benefit us as a whole. I'm listening to Larry Elder, and I'm listening to Stokely Carmichael.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? And I'm listening to you.
I mean, but getting us all into a room and say, what is it that we want? Well, there are varying degrees of what we want. That's why we're identifying as these labels. So it's not so much as what we want, is what can we live with? Like what are our core? Can we establish a core set of values that we will openly support, fight for, defend, whether it's demands, goals, policy changes? Can we agree to a core? We're not getting into the room. We're getting into the room trying to change each other's group instead of trying to say, hey, send your top 10 or top 20, wants, lists, needs, goals, objectives. And then from there, let's see if we can pull together a master list of things that we can agree, that we all have in common, that we can agree and have dialogue about, some ones we're on the fence about, to come up with an actual agenda, like a legislative agenda and strategic plan that impacts on the municipal, statewide, and congressional level. Which I think that's what Ice-T was trying to do with his initiative.
Man, get it
Oh,
right.
I'm sorry. I'm not a big rap person. I grew up with 97.1. But you knew which Ice I was talking about.
Yes, I did. The contract for Black America.
The one married to a black woman. That's Ice Cube.
Oh yeah, Ice-T's married to a white model. So yeah, Ice Cube. So, and I think that the contract with Black America was a great idea. And I had no problem with him meeting with Trump's people. If Trump's people are in power, you meet with who's in power and who can make some changes. And Trump wanted that black vote.
I think everybody wasn't in the room for that. And Ice Cube knows that. And I think it could have been better. As great as you think it was, it could have been better, but not everybody was at the table. And everybody could have been at the table, because largely missing from his proposal was representation and policy change regarding black women, as well as queer black men and women. It was absent from that. That's a contract that straight black men wrote. Mike, proves my point.
Ice Cube even said himself that it wasn't perfect and they're still working on it.
You shouldn't. But here's the thing: it didn't have to be perfect. It just had to have input from different groups. He sought input from the Democratic and Republican side. So you went to both those sides, but you couldn't have black women at the table.
Give me 5 books. Give the people 5 books. Good. Before I let you go, man, because we're coming up on 2:13. Give me 5 good books to read. 5 good books. I'm going to start recommending 5 good books for my guests.
Oh my gosh! Hold on, let me get I'm supposed to pull out. That's something you could let your guests know in advance.
Well, I figured that you already had like 5 books within reach of you.
Okay. Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, Jane Allen.
The heck?
Right. Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, Emmanuel Acho. That's Acho. Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria? And Other Conversations About Race, Beverly Daniel Tatum, PhD. Hood Feminism, Notes from the Women That a Movement Forgot, by Mickey Kendall. And The Book You Wish Your Parents Had Read and Your Children Would Be Glad That You Did, by Philippa Perry.
Very dope books. Those are nothing like the books that I'm reading right now. Would you like to know the books that I'm reading right now?
I didn't care to read Tupac's biography.
I'm talking about Tupac's biography. I'm talking about
You talking about books or coloring books?
see what these black Democrats do to me? Nah, I've been reading Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, by Kawasaki. Is it Kamasaki?
Hey, we're going to respect our Asian brothers and sisters.
I mean, I'm sorry. I have to. I'm sorry. There was
Shame on you, Byron.
But Nico, right, implicit. Right, I'm not perfect. Is it Kiwo Tamasaki?
I think it's Kiyosaki.
Kimosaki?
I've been reading.
Like, don't you say it fast like that? I wasn't trying to be. I was like, don't you really say Kimosaki?
Moving on, I've also been reading The Whitewashing Christianity by Pastor Jerome Gay, The Browder Files by Anthony Browder, the autobiography of Malcolm X. You better not say nothing about Malcolm.
What would I say about Malcolm?
I don't know.
Well, you know, the two people that were framed are getting released after decades of being in jail. I think that further proves it was definitely more of a conspiracy. And don't be clear, I'm the Nation of Islam. We don't have no problems. We don't. I mean, yeah. Walaikum salam, sir. Yeah, we don't. Yeah, the Nation of Islam, when it comes to their teachings on blackness, I think that they definitely have nuggets that mainstream African Americans need to. I'm not telling you to ingest all of it or that all of it is accurate, but to at least be exposed to it so you're aware and make an informed decision. Just make an informed decision of what their teachings are. But they have a very black, centered focus on us, and to me, it's a safe space. When I've gone to the mosque, I feel very safe there.
My brother Dominic Hand, who is a part of the Nation of Islam, very.
Did he just get engaged?
I don't know, but he's a very.
Isn't Dominic light skinned with the glasses?
Yeah, I call him Baby Malcolm all the time.
Right, he looks like yeah, he just got engaged.
Well, congratulations to the brother. Very handsome, very
articulate. You're right, baby. He looks like a baby Malcolm. Absolutely.
He's been on this podcast 3 times. He's always dropping gems.
Oh yeah, I respect. Yeah, I respect him. We've had great talks and conversation. Yeah, he's cool. Him and Wesley. I forget Wesley's name. He'll say Wesley Snipes. That's not it. Wesley.
I was about to say Wesley Muhammad, but not him.
Wait a minute, Wesley. Oh my gosh, it's going to bother me. The pastor of Love and Faith, not Love and Faith. The pastor of Beloved Church Fellowship. Is it Wesley Gibson? What is Wesley's last? I don't be knowing this. Hold on, that's going to bother me.
I know who you're talking about, cause I went to
Wesley Morris. That's it. I don't know why. But we just got on a first name basis. Wesley Morris. Shout out to Pastor Wesley Morris with Beloved Faith Community Church,
where Nelson Johnson used to be the pastor until retired.
Well, he's still. He allegedly retired. He's still very much pastor emeritus and doing the nonprofit side. So he still goes to work, go to the church every day, almost every day, and works.
Well, that's dope. That's dope. But another book that I read,
used to be a professed communist.
A professed communist. We are going to have to talk about why communism is.
Either he was labeled or he identified. I don't quote me on that, but it was believed he was a communist, and I don't recall reading an objection to that. But
we need to talk about why communism is very much vilified because
I'm not. Let me tell you something. This live is over. I am going to my trailer. I am not. Wait a minute. Why communism is viewed as bad? Really? I here's the thing. I'm not well informed enough to even have that conversation. I would like to do a more in-depth research and then come back and either be yay or nay or whatever. I'm probably sure I'll still be nay. But to be like, yeah, but no. I think but I don't know enough I don't know how because I'm aware of African Americans identifying as communists during that period. So, but I don't. Matter of fact, it was labeled that Bayard Rustin was a black communist. But I don't know what was going on during that period of time that they felt to align themselves with that. We know, of course, communism. We associate that with, the Jewish history and all of that. The Germans, Hitler, all of that, the communists. So we associate from a negative place, but that's really what public schools have really taught us about it, if that. So I'm open to learning more about the history of it. That doesn't mean I'll say that it's villainized, it's vilified, but I'm open to learning more.
Well, I'm going to ask you one last question, and then I'm going to give my contact info, and then we both gonna go eat something.
You buying?
I do owe you. But okay, so seeing how that you are for our
y'all
people,
heard him read through that though, right? Okay, just let this record and show. Let it show. Let it show how he flew past that. See, oppressive. Go ahead.
I asked
Will a man rob God?
I'm going to start asking every fellow black game changer this same question. All right, because I just want to know where people stand on things. Would you be more aligned with the ideologies of Garvey or Du Bois?
Really? That is not just a... I probably...
I'm sorry, you like me as a Du Bois type, but I could be wrong.
No. Well, it depends on which phase of Du Bois, because Du Bois came up with the talented 10th mentality that 10% of the black people need to tell the 90% what to do. Greensboro apparently still lives by that, at least in the black community. You have these packs representing.
So you think that is BS too, right?
Like I said, talented 10th equates to these black-centered packs. I'll leave that there. Garvey of separatism. It's easy for us to separate. The issue historically has been with equity. So being separate doesn't mean we're going to have equitable resources, equitable structure, equitable process. And because we're not as united as we used to be, and there's been a lot of mixing of ideas and ideologies and things, I don't know if that would ever be feasible. If you're giving me the two options because first of all, both are kind of opposite. Like, I mean, really, you are just an African American for this, because that's just and I understand Garvey, Pan African, okay, I get your reference with Garvey. However, returning back to Africa, as one example, I mean, we're considered white over there. Like, we're not, like, no one's connecting.
Not to everybody. I've had
not to everybody. But I know that during COVID, they opened up the gate. Do they call it the gate, so to speak?
Ghanaians were saying to us, "Come home."
Right.
Ghanaians, my bad. Ghanaians.
Yeah. To come home. I've done my 23andMe, and I'm not. I don't think I'm got. I'm somewhere over there. I don't know necessarily Ghanaian, but it's like the DNA, the ancestral test. The DNA. You do the swab, and
You're not talking about Ancestry.com, are you?
Ancestry.com and 23andMe are different.
Okay, I'm gonna look up 23andMe, but continue.
Right. So I found out, I'm like 68 point whatever 5% sub-Saharan. I was like, no.
You better claim that Sahara Desert, brother.
Right. I was like, I'm majority black. No. It's a joke friends with that because, of course, some people have found out that they were related to kings or whatever. They become very arrogant. Had to block them. But it's
You are a king,
right.
sir.
I know, right? I'm like, oh, here we go. No,
Peaceful
but
king.
I don't know. I don't know what that home looks like, but I know that here, that it's supposed to be actual home. It's completely feeling. It's more and more every day feeling like a very strange place. It's just a new experience, and you're thinking about, okay, well, how can I work? And basically, you're going over, either you're giving up your visa and you're applying to be a citizen of Ghana, or you're an expatriate. And then you got to look at the tax situation. You go over there, you're still responsible to a certain degree for taxes over here. Yeah, like I have friends who are teaching in Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. Like their income isn't taxable by the US government until they move back, officially move back to the US. So you have to look at the tax implications of that. I'm not a tax expert, but making that transition besides your visa and the money that takes it over there, like somebody posted on YouTube, African American lady, that she just popped up on my screen. Asia Arrow, AJAAROW. She's on YouTube. She went to she lives in a part of Mexico. She was talking about how affordable it was, but she was saying like in Thailand right now, a luxury modern apartment in Thailand is $500 in US dollars a month right now.
Yes, I should move to Thailand.
Well, exactly. But it's like, do we really want to uproot our culture, what we know, and go to a whole nother country and realize that you may have better pros, but you're also going to have, some real cons. And, for those who've made the move, and you can YouTube and watch their journeys who made the move, I'm interested. I can't say never. Canada's looking pretty good to me. Canada's looking good. Ghana or some of those places that are, more progressive are looking good. But if you have like a retirement income, like you're getting a certain amount of money every month, then moving makes more sense because you can budget and you're getting that income to deposit into your US bank account, and then you would just do a money exchange and then bam, you got it. But when you're having to still work and you're building retirement, it's like, well, what work can I do there? Or what work can I do in the US that will allow me to work from there in the field that I want to do? So I'll never say never. I will say that Marcus Garvey and Du Bois had valid points during their time period. But I think we have evolved to where there's really no place that we can go that will be safe. Because when we talk about going home, why don't we talk about Haiti? I mean, there's a lot of drama happening in Haiti, but Haiti's the first colony that slaves fought and won their independence. So if you're thinking about a place to be free and to grow, why wouldn't you want to go to a historic place and legacy like Haiti?
Well, when we talk about Liberia, which was originally designated for ex-slaves to come to. Why don't we talk about Jamaica? And I'm not talking about resort Jamaica. I'm talking about Jamrock Jamaica.
Okay, let's unpack that. We'll have to unpack that.
Yeah, just not right now, because you gave me 30 minutes, and I've had you for almost 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to be expecting the Cash App, sir.
You haven't given me your Cash App information, but anyway, so
no,
anybody
sending it right now.
Anybody who is checking this out would like to contact me. My email is adq4christ@gmail.com. My Instagram information is at Dion Chocolate Guy 85. My Twitter information is at Avenue ADQ _85.
Oh my
and
God.
my Facebook is Adrian Dion Quarles, ADRIAN DION QUARLES. Please do not call CIA on me. Byron.
Not ADQ for Christ. You know what? I'm over it. I'm good night. Good night, everyone who can
I
tune
want
in.
to tell you this.
I will not do this with you right now. Not after all of the hotepness. ADQ for Christ. I'm done.
That has been
Done.
my email.
Done.
That has been my email.
I'm done.
That has been my email for well over a decade. The person who founded Pan-Africanism was a Christian pastor, and for every single thing that you do, sir, for all of the advocating that you do, for all of the knowledge that you put out there, for your love for your people, you, sir, are a valued, needed, beloved member of the Renaissance. Our people are better because of you, sir.
Bless you. Bless you. Bless
And you actually sent me your cash out like you want me to, like you want something.
You have not, cause you asked not.
Okay, I want $500, Mister. I spent $10,000 on a campaign.
You know what? You almost made me Christian cuss.
I didn't know that was such a thing, Christian cuss.
Yes, bless you.
That's a Christian cuss.
Yes.
I'm gonna pray for you. That's a Christian cuss.
Yeah, bless you, and I'm gonna pray for you. Yeah, those are Christian cuss words. Yes.
I would do this, but I'm a Christian. That's a Christian cuss. No? Okay. Anyway,
Well,
again,
yeah. It's like blatantly passive aggressive. I prefer, subvertly.
I am very aware of that. But this has been ADQ's Renaissance. I'm ADQ. That is the Honorable Byron Gladden, future president of the United States.
And I'm open to come back to doing some, some co-hosting.
Hey
Definitely
man,
open.
Hey man, say the words. Let me know your schedule and stuff.
Feel like I talk to the pushback. I talk to pushback. I like I said, I do. I like StreamYard as well. So I think this is interesting. So yeah, let's talk more offline. Discuss contracts and what type of trailer I'm going to have and assistant. Hair, makeup. Let's talk. Let's talk about all of it. I need to find out what your budget is. Find out what your budget.
I think you do have a place in podcasting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, GC. Good night, Guilford County. Good night, world. Follow your boy on Spotify. I'm excited. You have a Spotify channel. That is incredible.
Actually, real quick, I
just
want to say that actually I'm on Anchor, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Audible, Amazon Music. Let's see what else. Apple, Castbox. Yeah.
Okay, get it.
I'm ADQ. He's Byron Gladden. Peace. Oh yeah, and tomorrow's Monday. Enjoy your Monday. Monday's great. We're gonna have our Monday talk on Tuesday.
Y'all get your honey baked ham tomorrow.
Ew.